Good afternoon, and welcome to Let's Talk. This is a wonderful Let's Talk segment as we wrap up National Minority Donor Awareness Month, the month of August, where we have really talked to highlight organ, tissue, and eye donation in our multicultural minority communities. I am Ramona Chapman, the Director of Public Relations and Public Education and Community Relations, as well as our MOTEP program here at Gift of Life, Michigan. And I want to welcome you to this exciting conversation that we're going to have today with two community leaders talking about how we can foster and engage community, talking about organ and tissue donation. So, with that, I'm just going to say welcome. You'll see a little intro, and from that, I will welcome our two guests, which is going to be Mr. Heaster Wheeler and Mr. Kevin Tolbert. Thank you. Thank you. Allow me to welcome to Let's Talk, August 2023, Mr. Heaster Wheeler and Mr. Kevin Tolbert. So I am just going to say welcome. I am excited that as we end National Minority Donor Awareness Month, that we have two distinguished guests with us, Kevin Tolbert and Heaster Wheeler. And so I'm going to just go in alphabetical order, and I'm just going to say welcome to Kevin and have him just introduce himself and tell us a little bit about you and your connection to organ and tissue donation. And then, of course, Mr. Heaster Wheeler will do the same. Kevin.
Well, good afternoon. Kevin Tolbert again. I am the second vice president of the Detroit branch of the NAACP, the largest chapter in the country, the most active, the most engaged, and the most concerned about helping our community, we think. Although all the NAACP has been very active and we're really doing great work nationally, I'm also very proud of the work that we're doing here in Detroit. I also am connected to the Gift of Life, and in terms of that, my family has been donors. My nephew was a donor in 2011, and we're very proud to be able to turn tragedy into triumph to help so many others in his passing. So just really awesome to be a part. I've had a chance to participate with Gift of Life and be a part of the process for some time now, even before we became a donor family. But just really to be able to talk and encourage others as to why this work is so important. So thank you for having me, Ramona.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here, Kevin. And as you have said that, you have been an active participant. You've served as one of the honorary chairs for the Gift of Life MOTEP Life Walk, as well as the breakfast. You've been a champion with not only your words, but again, as a witness, as a donor family, and truly also you have you put action and also been a financial contributor over the years. We want to thank you for that. And now
Thank
we
you.
have Mr. Heaster Wheeler, our Deputy Secretary of State. Mr. Heaster.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Dr. Ramona Chapman. What a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this very, very important discussion as we close out National Minority Donor Month. I think it is especially significant the work you do. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for many years, and I don't know if you really know the transformational impact you've had on my thinking. You have been such a champion for minority organ transplant and tissue donations. And I think there's no shortcut to the education the African American community in particular needs. There's no shortcut. I am a lifelong advocate, mentor, and speaker. I am honored to serve in this position currently as a senior policy advisor with the Michigan Secretary of State. I started 4.5 years ago with her as Assistant Secretary of State. And I think my title this time is senior, probably because I'm the oldest person on the team, which is a blessing. But as it relates to seniority and age, I also believe the very, very best way to predict the future is to create it. And I'm always encouraged when I have the opportunity to sit next to young men like Kevin Tolbert. I think he, every time I hear him or see him in action, my faith in tomorrow is restored. I know that our future is in good hands because he represents the best and the brightest. And I just want to encourage him to keep on keeping on. Trust your instinct, brother. I think did you just do your big birthday celebration?
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Coming up soon.
I saw it. I got a conflict, but I'm gonna do something nice for you. I might not be able to get there because I haven't really figured out how to get to two places at one time. But happy birthday in advance, and we need you. So Ramona, I'm always concerned about the ABCs of health challenges in the African American experience. And when I say ABCs, I'm really talking about things like arthritis and blood pressure and cholesterol. And I really should say the ABC, D, and E's because it also includes diabetes and enlarged prostrates. And man, we've got all of those issues. Some of it, they say, is heredity. A lot of it is diet and exercise and lifestyle. And all of those diseases have huge impacts on organs, particularly kidneys. I too am a donor family. I've lost a couple of my siblings. Both contributed parts of their organs because of my relationship with Ramona Chapman and my knowledge of MOTEP and the need for organ donations, particularly in the African American community. I'm also on the other side of the organ experience. My sister-in-law is a heart recipient.
Oh, wow.
And it's been maybe 4 years now. And man, I don't know if y'all gave her the right heart because she is so full of spit and vinegar and energy. If we could have selected the heart, we needed one that was a little more moderate, a little more mild-mannered. But man, she's always got something to say. She brings a ton of energy to every conversation, but we love her. And she's a single parent and she is doing an outstanding job. But thank you to MOTEP. Thank you to the Gift of Life. Thank you for your ongoing commitment to education. And I have learned as a lifelong social justice advocate that every effort matters. I don't care if 4 people show up or 40 people show up or 400 people show up. Play the hand you've been dealt. Keep pushing. It adds up. So I have benefited from Dr. Ramona Chapman and her continued commitment to pushing.
Oh, seriously, I should probably pay you for that commercial there. I was really looking for you to do A through Z of going through diseases and organ and tissue donation, but I'm going to pick back up where you started and left off, Hester, because again, I want to thank you. And that is why it's so important that we have these conversations. That's why Let's Talk exists. So that we can connect community, we can connect head and heart and hand to making sure that we are addressing the issues. And, we have a let's talk, check your heart campaign about if you don't have that red heart emblem symbol on your driver's license, to please check your license. If you don't have it, please go online at www.golm.org or the Secretary of State, get that red heart, but also check your heart and ask yourself, why not? And once again, I just want to say thank you because I think what you brought up was so important, that you have you have that continuum. You're a donor family member as well as your sister-in-law is a recipient. So you've seen firsthand the benefits of organ and tissue donation. At the same time, you've stepped into that tragic moment when life is lost and transformed, as we believed, into something else, and how organ and tissue donation has provided a sense of hope for both of you. And so what I'd like for both of you to do, to just talk about a little bit more how organ donation, especially as donor families, has also provided hope, comfort, and a channel for you to talk to your family and friends about the importance of organ and tissue donation.
Yeah, I'll jump in because I had to give Brother Hester a break because I know he's so prolific with his words. So I better give him just a second to regroup. But I will say that from our perspective, my nephew was a fairly young man at the time, 25 years old. And as you're dealing with a certain level of grief and sadness and shock from the loss of such a young life, you're also presented an opportunity as well. Our organs are so very valuable, and we have so much opportunity to be able to transform a moment of great sadness into purpose. When you can take your pain and transfer it into something, then it doesn't sting quite as much. No, you can never replace the person, but there's a great deal of pride that we have knowing
Yes.
that his loss helped so many different people. My
Yes.
nephew being so young, his organs, many organs were used to help so many different people. And, this opportunity, I think, especially in the African American community, we often say a lot of misnomers and mistakes about these things, and they harm us in the long run. And so this program is so important. The work you do, Ramona, I've always respected. I've known you since I was a kid, and I've seen you do this work and help transform a way of thinking. And of course, it's one thing when you're thinking it for others. It's something different when now it's your time. And when it's your time to make sure for your family members or for yourself that you're going to stand up and do the right thing. And so, in this case, like I said, we can never replace my nephew. That was 2011. So it's 12 years ago. But there's a great deal of joy in thinking that there's something good that could come out of the sadness of the situation. And that gives us peace. That gives us some comfort. And that helps a lot for my family.
Yeah. And thank you, Kevin Tolbert. I'll add to what you just said. Just prior to the start of this conversation, I was sharing with both Reverend Ramona and Jennifer that my family and I and a large group had just gotten back from Africa. We spent 12 days, and it was probably the most educational and informational and transformational experience I've ever lived, I've ever experienced in my life. And one of the reasons for that is because of the spirituality, which is woven deep in African culture, African norms, African mores. And one of the things we were reminded of is as long as we speak their name, our ancestors never die. As long as we remember them, they never die. And there are so many rituals that I live to this day. I try and stretch every day, and I do different forms of Tai Chi or yoga every day. And Ramona don't know anything about this yet, and I know you don't, Kevin. But as we grow older, the body changes, and you have to be very deliberate if you want to enjoy all of the benefits of dexterity and flexibility. You got to get on that floor and stretch. And there's one technique that I use. It opens your arm to the universe. And the Tai Chi and yoga instructors tell you to remember your ancestors in that moment. Bring them in close to your heart and in close to your spirit. So I think about my dad. I think about my mom. I think about my siblings who have gone on to glory every day when I stretch as a part of my spirituality. And it makes that entire exercise experience much more meaningful to me. So I had a brother who was age 57. He had been suffering cholesterol issues for some years, and ultimately cholesterol and hypertension contributed to kidney failure. And before he could even finish the conversation about the potential or the possibility of kidney dialysis, he suffered a stroke. And he never recovered from that stroke at 57 years old. And ultimately he passed on, and we had to make the decisions about organ donations. But like you say, Kevin, man, there's a special kind of satisfaction that we live knowing that somebody else has a shot at life because we committed to that organ donation. I have a younger sister. She was only 38. She had succumbed to a rare form of cancer. It's called sarcoma. And we don't exactly know how and where and when, but she was so young. Man, it's hard for me to even talk about her without tears popping up in my heart, because and she was my baby sister. 38 is just so young. And I know we all have a different way of of connecting to death and making peace with death. And one of the ways I make peace with death is I believe because the Bible says, the Bible talks about 70. So for me, 70 is 70. If a person makes it to 70 before they make their transition, I'm comfortable. I'm satisfied to some degree spiritually that they, at the very least, they got God's promise. Anything less than that is heavy on my heart. Like, oh my God, we just lost Shani Penn, a long time, just a wonderful community advocate, community activist. I think she was only 46. That's what made it so difficult. But I was my heart was warmed over when I went to the church and I saw just a long line of people consoling dad and consoling mom. I'm saying that's the beauty and the significance and the richness of this African American experience, where we know how to love on each other in moments like that. So, and I too am a beneficiary of that kind of love. But so my sister was able to donate. I forget all the different parts of her body that went on to help somebody else. So there's a special kind of joy knowing that they're still with us, as long as we speak their name, as long as we remember. And then to add to that, the reality that somebody else enjoys a higher quality of life because of the donation. That is awesome. Important work you do, Reverend Dr. Ramona.
Well, I think you all do the important work. All I do is get an opportunity to highlight and engage in a conversation of the love that you all have already expressed. And I think that's what I'm so excited about, having the two of you as we wrap up this National Minority Donor Awareness Month, because I've heard so much in your conversations. And as community, we bring our whole selves to that. You just talked about, again, the loss of Sister Shani, and how everybody, when you look and see, community comes together and love each other. We come together and show our concern. And that's why I think that our program in National Minority Donor Awareness Month has been so important, as we've also elevated our message of Check Your Heart, is that we want to show love on each other. We want to talk about how lives are transformed and changed by persons becoming recipients, how lives are transformed and changed by those persons who become, who become donor families. And as someone always reminds me, no one volunteers for this particular ministry here.
That's right.
Yet still, all of us will experience it. And how we experience and how we use that experience to touch the lives of others is so very important. And that's why we have a donor family gathering, and we encourage people to join us in our Michigan Donor Family Council, because we continue to speak those names. We speak those names on quilts and things that we do. We speak those names at ceremonies. We speak those names when people go out into the community and talk about their loved ones. And so I'm going to ask you again, as both of you have in your particular roles, Kevin, you with the NAACP, and Heaster, you with Secretary of State. How do you continue to help us engage and foster engagement in our community as we pass through National Minority Donor Awareness Month, knowing that, this is a message that we want people to hear continuously?
I think that the most important thing, and what you do so well, is bring this to the forefront by allowing leaders to keep it in our lexicon, to make sure that we're speaking about it, that we're promoting it, and that we don't forget it. It is really important sometimes that we just make sure we continue to shed light on a subject. We don't let our fears or misnomers or things prevent people from saving so many. And so in our role, I'm fortunate enough to have a platform with the Detroit branch of NAACP and some of my many other community initiatives that I get a chance to continue to talk about this. I think what happens is we lose so much because things stay in the dark. And because we don't talk about it and we don't share enough information, then lessons are lost. When we start over and over again, because we didn't share enough with the next generation and make sure people understand what's going on. It's such a crime. Les Brown often speaks of the graveyard is the richest place in the world. and that all these ideas and all these dreams went to the graveyard and they died with the people because they didn't take advantage of them. But more importantly, more tangible even, are our organs that we're taking and we're putting in the ground that could help so many, that could save so many lives. And we have to understand that it is really important for us to keep that message amplified and make sure it's in the community, because then we're saving lives. So every action we take to spread this, every speech that we give, every one of our programs that we make sure to include MOTEP and Gift of Life, we save lives. And we know if there's a small problem in the general community, it's usually magnified in the African American community. So it's vitally important that we continue, especially in the spaces where we can touch African Americans and people, Black and brown people, to make sure that we are donating, that we're signing up, and we're in position to help so many others.
Yeah, that is so very well said, Kevin Tolbert, Mr. Vice President of the NAACP Detroit branch. I can always piggyback or just add up to what you've said. You've set the stage. First of all, I don't think we should ever apologize for being committed to self-determination. African Americans are uniquely positioned in this American experience. Race and racism is really a social construct. It's designed for other purposes, including capitalism and consumerism. Some people think that their esteem or their wealth is measured at the expense of other people. Some people think that they're better off if they can point to somebody who's worse off. So we've just watched 3 Black people get killed by a young, angry person in Florida. I'm afraid to say this, and I really don't want to fuel, but I'm afraid that might continue to happen based on the racism we live with national leadership and people who are trying to diminish the impact of Black history and Black History Month, which is American history, and it ought to be American History Month. The greatness of America is reflected in our differences and our right to protest for rights. But what we've learned, I'm a lifelong activist, lifelong advocate, and like Kevin Tolbert, I made the commitment years ago that I am going to my grave empty. I don't want to contribute to what Les Brown says. I'm not taking my jewels and my wealth. I'm not taking them to my grave. You're going to know exactly who I am and what I am committed to while I am here. But I've also learned the importance of building support and building awareness. As your chief elections officer, for example, I know that there is a relationship between the number of times you touch voters and the likelihood they participate. And there's a science somewhere in there, 5, 6, 7 times. If you touch voters 5, 6, 7 times before election day, the likelihood that they participate increases exponentially. The same thing is true for organ donations. The more times we touch our community, and you have to go above and beyond in the African American community, the same way racism goes above and beyond to disenfranchise or to marginalize. You have to go above and beyond to offset the foolishness, to offset the history. We don't have the best history with medical experiences in this American society. We're disproportionately impacted by a lot of the negative data. So we need to go above and beyond with the positive data. And I am also pleased to say that since I got to the Secretary of State's office, the Gift of Life is a registered charity with us. So on that driver's license, Reverend Ramona, which you referenced, we encourage people to check the heart. And we're having conversations now about how to get more creative, because believe it or not, people don't have the same need to get to the Secretary of State's office anymore, because we've improved upon our services. Upon arrival 4.5 years ago, we looked at all of the reasons people might have to come to a Secretary of State's office, and we came up with a list of 73 reasons. And since then, we put 45 of those 73 reasons either online or at a self-service station. So we don't have the same chance to have human interaction saying, hey, don't forget to check Gift of Life or check the heart on your application. So we've got to get creative in how we communicate, but we will get it solved. So appreciate it, Ramona. And I know you're the host and the moderator, but are there 2 or 3 specific pieces of data that we should be uniquely aware of? What percentage of African Americans are waiting? What percentage are contributing? What are the important data points?
Well, again, I think I'm just participating in a conversation led by you and Kevin Hester, and I am absolutely fine with that. I think there are a couple of things of data points that we can share, and that is 60% of the people that are waiting nationally are African American, waiting for kidney transplants.
Okay.
That's a statistic that we can make a difference at. And I'm happy to say that when we began this initiative, our donation rate was about 10.8, 11%. Now our donation rate has risen to 30%. But I want you to understand that that need rate is 60%. And so even though we can celebrate for a moment, there are still too many people that are dying, waiting for a transplant. There's still too many people on dialysis machines. And so that's the thing. And so I want to also go back to something that you said, and that's why we're meeting here today. That's why, as Kevin said, we need to keep this conversation afresh and in the forefront of our leadership, is because you have decreased 45, I think you said 45 reasons for people not to go to Secretary of State. So we've got to find 45 reasons in community to get this message out. And so we've got to take each and every moment, each and every opportunity that we have to make sure that that message is getting into our community. And I think that is so important. That's why, again, I want to celebrate both of you, because with all the things that you have going on, you still find time to make sure that this is a message that resonates not just from your head, but this is a message that resonates from your heart. And it's also a message that resonates, that you tell people to use their hands. Just like you use your hands to go and sign up for voter registration, use your hands to go online and sign up to become an organ and tissue donor. I know that information is going to be put up there again. So once again, I just want to say that as we almost come to the end, and I could talk to you and Kevin forever, it gives me great pleasure to see that, again, both of you are using your voice. Both of you are using your platforms to promote this message. And I think just as you spoke to, and I don't want to ignore that, just as you spoke to Florida, that there has to be an awakening in our community, that we have a responsibility, a greater responsibility at this time to each other. And in that responsibility, not only are we talking about, like you said, health issues, we're talking about social justice issues, we're talking about all of this, because none of us live in a vacuum. And we need people to know that we are aware of different things, and that we are doing all that we can to work together. I am happy that Gift of Life Motep participated in the 60th commemorative walk with NAACP. And so we're just not talking, we are actively involved in community. And so with that, I'm going to say, I just want your parting words as we come to the end of another month of National Minority Donor Awareness Month, where we're really talking about community being involved. All organizations, all transplant organizations have come together with one voice and one vision, and that is to save lives through organ, tissue, and eye donation. So please give me your parting words, Kevin Tolbert and Heaster Wheeler.
I think Hester, in his brilliance, said something really powerful that we don't want to miss out on, which is self-determination, which is the ability for a group of people to change their course on their own. You don't need any outside interference. You don't need anything other than for us to do what we can do to help each other. So hearing that number, about 60% of African Americans on that list needing kidneys, these are things that we can change by talking about it, getting the word out, engaging, and really working on that. One of the most powerful messages from Malcolm X, from Martin Luther King, from our civil rights leaders of the past, was us doing something about problems in our community, not pointing the finger, not sitting back, not waiting. That's the message that they both shared together. And it's something that's universal, and it still lasts today. So we have the directive. All we have to do is get moving on it, continue to talk about it, continue to work on it, continue to sign people up, continue to engage people, and we change our community. It's just that simple. It doesn't take a lot of effort to make major change. And this is something that we need to take to heart, continue to talk about, and more importantly, to be about, to help others in our community. That's really what life is about. So the gift of life is helping others get to a better place.
I agree. And I appreciate you, Ramona, Reverend Ramona, for giving us a clear target. I hear you. 60% is where we need to get to. We've gone from 10% to 30%, but we've got to get to 60%. We've made everywhere we've chosen to fight, we've made progress. Home ownership, educational accomplishments, wealth creation, jobs, opportunity, business ownership. Everywhere we've chosen to fight, we have been successful. The fact is, we don't have power if we don't use it. Reverend Ramona, gift of life, you guys are using your power. You're educating, you're advocating, you're pushing the envelope. And one of the things we absolutely know very well as activists and advocates, when we fight, we win. Thank you for having us.
I want to thank both of you for being our special guest today. You just don't know, my heart is over here smiling to see Kevin Tolbert and Heaster Wheeler on the screen. But I also have to thank, two people behind the scenes that you might not see, and that is Jennifer and Jose, who have been working, making sure that everything works with StreamYard behind us. So I want to give a shout out to them. I do want to once again remind everyone, you may please go to our website, that this is our Let's Talk, Check Your Heart. You can find out more information by going to golm.org /register. But I want to just say this, that this conversation will end on today. Mm-hmm. But I'm not putting a period there. I'm putting a comma there. That this has to be community engagement. The way we have been able to accomplish things is when we come together and work together to make a difference. And so I just want to thank each of you individually. I want to thank you for using your voice and your vision and your platforms to elevate this particular message. And with that, I think I should probably let you go and tell all of our guests that, hey, anytime that you want to join us here at Gift of Life Michigan, and let's have a Let's Talk, because Let's Talk is about having a dialogue and a conversation with you about things that are important to you to help us to do what we're doing each and every day. And that is saving lives through organ, tissue, and eye donation. But we cannot do that without you. And so with that, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Let's Talk, fostering an engaged community. I know the community will answer the call, because that's what community does. Thank you.